they weren't expected to do anything. They were the third youngest, had the third youngest roster in the country, and a new quarterback, of course, Andrew Peasley, coming over from Utah State. Lost a ton to the transfer portal the year previous, a lot of starters. And, really, I believe they were picked to finish just ahead of New Mexico last year. So they really came in with not a lot of pressure and, come out of the gate and really played poor at Illinois, which scared fans even more, but then picked it up against Tulsa and then had the big win over Air Force and kind of just got on a little roll there. I think they exceeded expectations all the way around, went to a bowl game. I think if you asked Greg Bowl before last year if he thought he was going to be in a bowl game, if he was being honest with you, he probably would have said, I have no idea, to possibly absolutely not. So I think they did had a fantastic year, to be honest. Okay. And I think a lot of them won't tell you that, but they feel it too. And a lot of guys, they really did well in the transfer portal this year, and now they're one of the oldest teams in the country. So a lot of guys with experience coming back.
So tell us about the portal. How did they do well?
If you look at the numbers just with the naked eye, it says 17 or 18. But, I tell you, 14 of those guys, 13 of those guys never even saw the field. So they did lose Joshua Cobb, a wide receiver, to Houston. They lost Oluwasi Omotosho, an edge rusher, to Oregon State. And Cam Stone went over to Hawaii. Other than that, they replaced their running back room with Harrison Whaley, a 2,000-yard back from Northern Illinois. And they really went hard on the JUCO route and picked up some guys there. I really feel like they really did a great job as far as the portal went. They didn't lose many impact players. They lost a couple starters. Other than that, they're loaded at almost every position on the field now, and they have depth everywhere except the offensive line right now, which is weird under Craig Bull. Usually that's where they have a ton of depth, but you'd be hard for us guys to find a position on this team that doesn't have guys with playing experience.
And to put that all in perspective with the transfer portal and stability and not losing a bunch of guys, Colorado State at Media Days for the Mountain West Conference, Jay Norvell was talking about, I think he said he had 39 new players. UNLV's turned over their roster a lot to the tune of 40 plus. So sometimes it's a necessity and sometimes it works out. But you're right, it's hard for guys to come in and be really good and blend in and get a lot of playing time in year one out of the portal. How do the Cowboys get better offensively this year?
They're always going to be a run-first team. As you mentioned in the opener, they're going to be a smash-mouth team. They're going to run the ball a ton. What they need to do and what they've been missing since Josh Allen left is just simply having a competent passing game. They don't need anything crazy. They're not going to throw the ball 40 times a game. Craig Bull likes to yell at me all the time and say, I'm not going to be Mike Leach. Nobody's asking for that. I think simply you get up around 62, 64% completion percentage. Don't turn the ball over, obviously. I think you're looking at some good things for this group. And, guys, it's been unbelievable to see how good this running game has been, and it has not opened passing lanes at all. So that's been the really big elephant in the room, and I know they've changed a lot of things this year. They've changed a lot of scheme, a lot of the way they practice, going downfield a lot more. They did add 2 wide receivers in the transfer portal, Devin Body from Vanderbilt, who obviously SEC guy, he can absolutely fly. And Ayer Asante, a kid out of Holy Cross, who had 1,700 receiving yards and 16 touchdowns during his career. So they're really, really trying to get that going. And if they do, look out.
In looking at the passing game and the quarterback play in general, is Peasley cemented in as the starting quarterback? If it is, what kind of leap do you expect him to make? Because some of the numbers tying to the anemic passing game weren't really great for him. Do you expect a strong step forward for Peasley if he's the guy?
Yes, he is 100% the guy. Craig Bull mentions it a lot, and even Andrew admitted it at Media Days. We hear this stuff and we think of it as coach speak, but he was at Utah State. He never even had a tight end, never took a snap under center. He comes here to a pro-style offense, and he's expected to know the entire playbook, personnel, the whole nine. And really, when you think about all that stuff, which is basically learning a foreign language, he exceeded a lot of expectations in his own right last year. Could have been way better, however. This year, way more comfortable, knows the offense inside and out, got rid of a bulky leg brace he had on his right leg. And now they know a little bit more about these backup quarterbacks, so they're going to let him run a little more. Last year, they really had him on a leash, didn't want him running very much. He's not a big human being, but that's a big part of his game. And I think not even so much running, but scrambling around the pocket, looking for guys, doing some sandlot ball, for lack of a better term. And And I think Andrew's trying to have a much better year. He's much better than he showed last year. A perfect example, guys, he was 5 of 20 for 30 yards and an interception at Illinois in the opener. He turns around the next week, throws 3 touchdowns, 270 yards, and is named the Mountain West Offensive Player of the Week. That was kind of Andrew Peasley's 2022 season.
Cody Tucker with us. You can find him up on Twitter, Cody Tucker _7220. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the offensive line and turning this thing over because by some accounts, only 5 starters coming back. How do you look at the offensive line when it's tied so strongly into the run game? Are there some good competitions that are going to go a long way toward deciding how good this run game is going to be?
Yeah, there's going to be some youth up there, guys, and usually Craig Ball's always had a veteran offensive line up front. They did lose Emmanuel Pregnon to USC in the transfer portal. That's another one I should have mentioned. They lost him right after the spring game. A big loss there at right guard. Very good player. Obviously, USC doesn't just take anyone, as we know. So he's going to be tough to replace, no doubt about it. But Frank Crum, 6'8", 330 pounds. He's moving over to the left tackle. Caden Barnett, another young guy, is moving over to the right. Thea Tulipono's a center who's probably going to be a first-team guy at the end of the year. They do have some pieces, but they're going to have to bring in some young guys, and a lot of it's going to rest on this a kid named Wes King. He's very young. He's a redshirt freshman. Craig Bowl doesn't like to play these youngsters really on the line, so it's kind of a necessity. There's some guys behind him, too. They're big, they're strong, they're just unproven. So, if there's one thing that people can't doubt, it's that Craig Bowl knows how to find offensive linemen and how to develop them.
Talking Wyoming football. Rebels will take on Wyoming here in Vegas on November 10th. So we're doing opponent previews for the Rebel football team. Boy, the beginning of the schedule this year. Outline for the Vegas audience what the Cowboys have coming out of the gates.
Yeah, Texas Tech, September 2nd, 5:30 game. That's on CBS. Wyoming Athletic Director Tom Vernon indicated yesterday that is going to be a sellout. So. And it should be. But the Cowboys actually, I know you see Texas there in week 3. Appalachian State is going to be coming to Laramie as well. Cowboys do have 7 home games this year and only 5 away games. And no offense to UNLV or anybody in Nevada, but you got to like that at the end there, your road games are in Las Vegas and then Reno. Really, you can look at it half glass full, half glass empty. Yeah, Texas Tech, those are a couple of Bears, but I tell you, your head coach there at UNLV knows what it's like to bring a Missouri team into here that was an 18-point favorite in 2019, and they left with a big L in Memorial Stadium. It's not an easy place to play, and when the weather's warm, that makes the elevation even harder to play in. So Texas Tech's going to walk into a Hornets nest, no doubt about it. So I like the 7 home games, and then, of course, Air Force is one of those road games as well. It almost feels like there's 8 home games. So a ton of Wyoming fans make the 3-hour trip down to Colorado Springs. So kind of like the way it plays out, and if we're circling games, they're playing at Boise State later in the year, I believe in late October. Have not won up there before, like a lot of Mountain West teams can say, but that's a big one, and that's one that I think is circled with these guys.
So give me your take on what's going on the last couple of days with this conference chaos and the possibility that the Mountain West could be bringing teams in or potentially getting broken up.
Oh, man. Well, of course, it's all purely speculation, but guys, I don't know about you, but I just don't see the leg that Oregon State and Washington State have to stand on. And I don't see Stanford and Cal playing in the same conference with the likes of San Jose State, Fresno State, San Diego State, et cetera. Yeah. So, I mean, I think you really got to focus on these two, Wazoo and OSU, and see if you can get them in. I mean, I know there's a lot more to this, but Corvallis and Pullman, those are absolute college towns. And I've always thought they'd be such a great fit in the Mountain West. And I know that's not what they want. It's obviously a huge cut, huge money cut. But and the prestige, I guess, of the Pac-12, of course, and all that. But I really feel like they don't have a leg to stand on. I mean, they don't have the TV deal. They don't have the juice. I feel like the Mountain West and this new commissioner seems aggressive. She seems like she doesn't back down. It's time, instead of being the reactionary conference, it's time to go out there and get it, in my opinion. Go get them. The Mountain West could also do nothing. The ball's in the Mountain West court in so many ways. So they could either stand pat or they can say, hey, OSU, Wazoo, you want to join? If not, oh well, we're moving forward.
If it's a doomsday scenario and somehow Kliavkoff and the Pac-12 and Apple can convince the Mountain West team, some of them schools, to come over with the Pac-4, can you make the case for Wyoming? I like a lot of what Wyoming has going on, but I think a lot of people don't know about the school, the area, the fan base, the funding. the programs pitch that. If you were talking to a Pac-12 people, you're like, hey, Wyoming is a positive.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I think Wyoming's athletic director, Tom Berman, put it perfectly yesterday in a local podcast here that you can really be irrelevant in your own city. And I'm sure you guys have seen plenty of that in Las Vegas. UNLV, you got the Golden Knights, you got the Raiders, soon to have the A's. UNLV basketball, when it's going good. But, you can be in a big market and be irrelevant. San Jose State's the same way. However, in Wyoming, we only have 500,000 plus in this entire state, but everybody to some degree is invested into the University of Wyoming. They're also backed by the Wyoming State Legislature. We have one 4-year university. They're backed by the legislature. Wyoming is not losing money at all. They're making money. And, the thing that guys forget about too often, Denver is right down the road. And where do you think Wyoming graduates go? So if you want to get into the TV market thing, you have a passionate fan base here that actually cares about the Cowboys, watches the Cowboys religiously. Plus, they have thousands of graduates right down on the Front Range in Denver, Colorado, that absolutely own a part of that TV market. So Wyoming's got a long tradition. They have a national championship in basketball like UNLV does. In football, they've done the Sugar Bowl thing. They've been relevant in this conference. They're a founding member of the Mountain West and the LAC. And Tom Berman mentioned it yesterday that CSU, Air Force, New Mexico, and Utah State need to stick together with Wyoming. And if that happens, then nothing's happening to the Mountain West. There will not be any dissolving of the Mountain West. They will all be united, and as of now, they are. But we all know, fellas, money speaks.
Yep. 7220 Sports. Great job as always, Cody. We'll talk to you later in the season. Thank you so much.
Appreciate you guys.